Salinger looks suspiciously. "What did you call me?" he says as he slowly approaches the figure. He looks around, um, musses his hair a little bit, steps into the water. Remember the world slowly falling apart and fighting off impossible monsters, and then he looks at his arm. Is it there? Okay. Okay. Where his arm used to be. The struggle and violence, my friends, and it was nothing. Now I'm here. Who else is here? You said there are more returners. You asked what I remember. I'd like to tell you my takeaway from the past few years. Puts a hand a little roughly on his shoulder, and it hasn't taught me to trust strangers. What is this place? What am I choosing? And who else has come back here? All right. So I'm the one for this year. Well, it's on towards one of those two places. I just pick a shore. Every place in my home fell apart and was inflicted with some sort of tragedy, and this place is just fine. And he starts walking down the center of the stream, river. How deep is it? How do I choose when I don't know what choice I'm making? He keeps walking down the center of the river across the stones. I feel like I've heard that before. Thinking back to the Feywild and wandering to where we wanted to go. Where does it look like the river leads? Like, can I see in the distance? Is there too much fog? Is there mountainscape? Is there any way to have any sort of read or insight into why they're divided? If there's animosity towards each other, or is it just joyous? All right, one more question, then I'll decide. Do you have a name? You haven't mentioned the name of the towns themselves, the name of the place I'm in, or yours, and that's highly suspicious. Which side would you choose? Hmm. It's only polite to introduce oneself, and I've been told several times by an old friend. Sal, and you're not supposed to influence me. Fine. Steps off to the right side. I don't think I've ever been booed before. Was that it? What now? Okay. I thought it just went silent, like all the laughter and
Sal's just
joy, and just
standing there
all the
like,
ceremony, and then they're just, all right, we're done. And they just,
And then the orgy began.
So, what you see is Talith sitting in his house. It's a small little house, nothing fancy. And you see him at his desk. He's studying, actually wearing glasses, or glasses of sorts. You see various tomes, some notes, lots of different names of various people with question marks after them. And at the bottom of the stack, very bottom of the stack, you do see one that says suffering, but you can tell that one hasn't been touched in quite some time. You also might see him going outside, digging a hole, collecting some dirt, putting it in a jar, but then labeling it the name of his village because he tends to collect dirt from places that he's been to. Upon his appearance, you can see that he's a bit older, pushing maybe around 30 or so, something like that. He's got plenty of scars. His hair is a lot more disheveled, longer wolf cut type, maybe down to his like mid neck length, something around that area. And you do see him still training. He'll go out. And now this area he's in is called Otterdale. It's very cold. But luckily, they're fortunate enough to be on the more sunny side of the giant rocks that are blocking off the harsh winds. And you'll see him, of course, working on his training. He'll occasionally make a day's travel to a city-state nearby to train some of the guardsmen for the wealthy, and in return, he gets some more tomes to study. and learn as much as he can. And then one other thing you might notice is every now and then there happens to be this white little rabbit that just comes up to his house, just this stray rabbit, but tends to like his home, so he'll come out, pet it, have some tea, and that's pretty much what you see.
I'm here. Do we want a vignette, or am I about to wake up on the ground like Salinger? Peach woke up in the middle of a field, lying on her back, a soft layer of snow. And from there, she struck out, much like Salinger did, down a road, a path, anywhere, some place where she sees smoke rising. Ultimately, she finds herself at a small farmhouse. The people there instruct her that there's a larger town up the road quite a bit, maybe a day's ride, but that's where they get their supplies and things. Peach offers to, do a little work around the place in order to have some food and a safe place to be for a minute while she gets her bearings. And it's here that she learns about, how this world is different from Shep's End. Things that, for example, her guns don't work properly. Right? They always worked properly before. Even as soon as Esmond taught me how to use them, they've always been great. But now she's had to retrofit them. She's had to make it so that they can use gunpowder instead of just a fire rune. So she knows that there are differences to this area, to this new version of the world, that make it different from Shepherd's End. But also it's a different place. It isn't as if Shepherd's End has been transformed, and Peach realizes this. She's just elsewhere. And so she will stick around in this little town telling stories about her friends until she has the drive to go somewhere else. And one of the stories that she tells, sitting at the hearth of the fire in the farmer's home, everything has been brought in for the day, and although the sun does not ever set here, you know that it's evening time just by the evening meal happening. And as Peach sits crisscross in front of the younger girl of the family, a little like 9 or 10-year-old, she starts to tell a story. So back in my hometown, there was this girl, one of my very best friends, and her name was Kid Beth, right? And she could just eat and eat. And now I'm not shaming her in any way, because the more she ate, the faster she ran. And the faster she ran, the more she had to eat. Now, I know this sounds like a fairy story, but I saw this happening. This girl was unfillable. And then one day, and then many days afterwards, it turned out that she could use all that extra food energy, what have you, to grow mighty in size. 20 foot tall, extra strong, something you've never seen before. And as far as I'm concerned, maybe she just kept growing and growing. I don't know how much time has passed. What if it turns out we're on Quebec's head right now, and all these trees and whatnot are just, the curls of her hair? And the reason why it never ever sunsets is because, why would we? Quebec's just walking around in the sun. And she kind of gives the little girl in front of her a playful shove and say, "What do you think? Think that's real?"
Sorry, I'm still dying over it.
I'm so glad Ali immediately had to follow my Quebec as a fairy tale character.
Sorry. Chris, do you want me to just start with the vignette? She imagines the deck of the ship swaying beneath her feet. The room is full of laughter and the clinking of glasses, and one of the briar birds near her says, To the witches who no longer have to stay in hiding! And everybody in the room cheers, and she smiles and knocks her cup against the person sitting nearest to her. And a little bit of her ale sloshes onto her lap. And with a start, she opens her eyes and realizes that she's not on the ship, and the room isn't full of joyful laughter. It's quiet. She's lying in her bunk in the back of her wagon on a cool night, and she smiles and rolls over and stares at the wall, at the rows of bottles and jars full of tinctures and liquids and powdered herbs, and the workbench with scraps of paper and ink, a stain that dribbled down the side. And she remembers fondly the people of her past and thinks about where she is now.
Bax comes tumbling out of the fog and rolls down a steep mountainside, barely catching himself on the rocks before he nearly falls off a sheer cliff face. Pulling himself up, he doesn't immediately recognize his environment. That's not an unfamiliar scenario that he's found himself in, though. Though he was just fighting something, so he quickly looks around, unable to find it, and begins to scour and search. 2 months go by. He's been in these unfamiliar woods for this whole time, scraping by, getting to scuffles with any beasts, until he comes across 2 humans. The first humans that he's seen in 2 months now. Saves them from a pack of wolves, and they're standoffish with him, but still appreciative of his effort and of him offering assistance, saving them from a pack of wolves. They were foraging for their village. They offer him food and bedding, and Bax is brought and introduced to an unfamiliar village. No one knows about the barony or seemingly is unaware of the constellations that he's familiar with. Makes the best of a bad situation, picks up where he had left off before. He offers help. He trains the villagers that are willing to accept his help. He helps to raise the defenses of this village so it has better odds of survivability against any oncoming intruders. He meets and gets to know many of the villagers. The chiefs are kind enough to him. The one of the three is very unkind to him, but that's not an unfamiliar sensation either. So for the following 4 months, he spends his time with this village, training them up, working with them, becoming accustomed to whatever this strange new environment he finds himself in.
In a town, presumably in a pass between some mountains, there is a figure being pulled by a lone goat hitched up to a very small, slight buggy that's just about their size. Dressed warmly against the weather, they look up, mismatched eyes, looking around, and gives a long sigh. Doesn't flick the reins and just watches it come up, scanning the horizon. She says, "It's all this way. I hope this leads to something. Although I suppose it's hope you gave me at least something of worth, Edmund." She looks over at the goat in front of her, whose ear turns back, and says, "Well, I guess just keep on doing what we do. Try to look unthreatening, and keep an ear out, and try not to eat the clothing of the people who approach us this time, will you? I swear, you don't even really need it. I shouldn't have turned you into a goat. You're just worse than ever at trying to eat everything."
in this time, the goat actually turns to look back at her and gives and a distinctly snotty look, as only a goat can do with its slotted eyes. And she does actually flick the reins this time, which he bucks a little against before picks up a trot and jounces them into the town. Sav pulls up to the town square, or what looks like the closest thing to a town square, and starts a routine that has become familiar to them after what probably however many weeks has been, many weeks, certainly, of traveling on the road in this manner. They pull up to the side, unload the back of their little cart, which has a little chest with a lock on it. Set up a little sign that says, "Fix your pots here. Anything mended for cheap." And cheap is all caps with a little exclamation mark at the end. And then unrolls a set of tools on the back of the bench, gives Aloysius a little bit of water from the well, and then sits and waits for any custom and wait for someone to pass by. Sav is not a very good businessman or woman, business person, and just nods at them and says, "All right then." Certainly. What have you got? Oh, I can see that. Well, let's give this a look. And they'll take it in their hand, give it a quick once over, and say, "So you live here then, do you?" Lots of strangers come through here. Right, makes sense. Just wanting to know, can any trouble up on the road ahead or strange things happening? Can't be too careful these days, you know. That's a sad thing, indeed. How many went up? Right. What's the name of this bar? Well, certainly I hope that's not what everyone who goes there does. Well, looks like this bridal might run you, and she'll name the cost. That seems reasonable. Relatively cheap. Say, I heard a friend of mine might still be in this area. It's been a long, muckle time since we've talked, but I didn't suppose that you might have seen a man, kind of blue, white hair. Blue parts, like tattoos. Huh. Could be related, I guess. I didn't kid us that there's many blue people in the world. Although I've seen an awful lot of strange folk since I started traveling. Where would I run to? It's so flat around here. Except for the mountains, of course, but you'd see me going away for miles. I'll be here. And she points at him and says, "Jinx." And then just goes back to mending it, but is keeping an eye out. She is going to finish up with that bridle for a minute, and then will stow away the stuff into the lockbox, grab up the bag, and make her way to the tavern.
Oh, so sorry. I'll be right there. And Peach does a quick spin and a little wiggle, and then once she refreshes the fellow's drink, she goes right up to Sav at a reasonable distance and say, "Welcome to the Pig and Wiggle, miss.
Sav had not trusting
Welcome.
things that she sees in dreams. Sav had immediately started.
Yeah, welcome to the Squeal and Wiggle. We do food, drinks. We've got a couple places to stay if you need room. This blizzard just blew through real bad, so I don't recommend traveling the roads quite yet."
Sav, not trusting things that they see in dreams, had immediately started to try and duck off to the side to try and find a hiding spot, but is too slow as Peach immediately approaches her, and she looks a little bit trapped. And she's still looks fairly young, like maybe 1920-ish or whatever. It looks like I don't remember how old she was when you stopped. Hair ragged, a little dirty from time on the road, and says, "Oh, right. I actually really need the use of a privy. Where's where is it?"
Oh, it's when Peach points to like the usually employees area only. Just go with there. It's going to be not as insulated though. Okay, it is kind of more of an outhouse, so just be braced.
Oh, that's fine. I've been pooping in the bushes for the past week. And then she steps off hurriedly, slams the door behind her. Will lock the latch, and then is immediately going to start trying to ritual cast detect magic. Given as it's a ritual casting, so it's going to take a while, Sav actually sets up one of her, pulls out just a pebble, and with a tool that looks kind of like a wire, at first scribes with a little mark that immediately vanishes, and then it starts to emit the sounds of someone in gastrointestinal distress. Sets it off to the side, and then starts to pull on, pulls out the goggles that are hidden in the scarf from around her neck. Using the same tool, she begins to trace angular geometric lines and runes in an unfamiliar writing for most people, although those who have seen her before would recognize the same writing that she's done all of her spellcasting in. On the lenses of the goggles, blows on them, they flare and disappear, and then she repeats the step over the course of the 10 minutes.
After a few minutes, Peach would check. Girl went in there, and it's been almost 10 minutes. Yeah. So Peach would after 5 or 6 minutes, would kind of sidle up near the door. I imagine the magic presence that tinny sound is getting stronger, and she just says, like through the door crack, "Are you all right in there?"
I'm fine. I just need a bit more time.
Oh, cool. Now it's gone. Cool. All right, that is actually even more interesting. But yeah, Peach was. Are you? Is there? Should we call a physician,
No,
or
I
are
think
you
it's just a
traveling
bit.
with anybody who we might need to inform about your predicament?
Nah, it's just a bit. Mist, just leave me alone, please. I'll be out in just a minute.
Oh, of course, of course, of course. My apologies, miss. My apologies. And Peach will kind of blush and swing off somewhere else. Yeah, no way you're going to be locked in my bathroom for 10 minutes. I would 100% check on you. I do this in real life, all right?
She settles it on her face. Seals it against her the goggles around her eyes for a minute, and then removes it. There's a faint flare of golden tracery, and then which seeps into her eyes, and then goes away. She lets the goggles fall back down to onto her chest, and then taps the pebble that was making those sounds, and which stops, and then will come out. She's still a little bit red from having to have had that conversation, even though she wasn't actually doing anything involved, but the concentration was hard to maintain. She hasn't had to deal with that in a while. And she comes out and just stops near the edge of the room looking around. Is going to approach the bar, and well, presumably there's some place to wash her hands because she's not a savage, despite the name.
There would have
And
been a basin in the bathroom,
yes,
regularly
okay.
icing over, but that's part of Peach's job is to skim it.
And says, "It's all right now. Thanks for asking, I suppose."
I mean, I didn't mean to embarrass you, but we do get all types in here, and it's it's tavern policy. If somebody takes more than 5 minutes, more than five of those little, and whatever she remembers the thing that represents minutes in this town, as Kate does not. And so I'm not clocking you for your own sake. I'm just trying to make sure everybody's safe and etc. I've got to follow the lovely booklet.
Booklet?
Oh yeah, the booklet they gave you in training you. You know?
They train you for this? I thought bartending was just throw you in at the deep end.
You know what? I think sometimes it is. And I would not deign to question your own lived experience. So, can I get you a drink or anything? Now that you've gotten yourself more comfortable?
Sure. It's a bit hot, I think. It's a cold day out there, but I suppose they all are here, huh?
What?
It's a cold day out there, but I suppose they all are, huh?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Up here they are. Absolutely. I used to be from a town that had four proper seasons. It was the funniest thing now that you get used to this. At least you don't have to change your wardrobe up too much. It's always autumn. Not too bad. And as Peach is just talking to herself slash to Sab as banter, she's like headed behind the counter and she's like starting to warm some milk or something.
Sap is definitely also looking Peach up and down in a way that isn't actually quite how. It's a lot more clinical than Peach might be normally used to getting, being a waitress in a bar. Looking for any signs of weird things, of magic, and just trying to generally assess who she is beyond weirdly familiar because they've seen her in their dreams. Well, I don't initially necessarily see magical stuff, but I can sense the presence of magical effects within 30 feet. And then if I do sense this thing, I can take a magic action to see a faint aura on any invisible creature object in the area that bears magic. And if an effect was created by a spell, and the spell school is magic, so they're the same. It bears any visible creature or object in the area that bears the magic. So I assume magic items, yes. Magical effects. Nothing about items specifically, but it does say object in the area that bears the magic. Let me see if I can. So, did you grow up here then?
Now, I grew up a little place called Shep's End, right? Beautiful, temperate area, but my mom's not even from there. If you talk to other folks from Sheps, they don't even talk like me, right? So I guess maybe I'm from all over these days. What about you? I never heard your kind of voice before, ever. And there's so many folk who come through here. Some that don't even speak common at all. If you don't mind the question, where are you hailing from?
Pretty far away. Traveled a long ways to get here. Not sure. I mean, it was not sure the place exists anymore. What with it was pretty under. Had some troubles, shall we say? No.
No, and Peach hasn't been referring to her, so she's just been saying miss. Peach can have a name tag for all we care.
I only asked, well, two reasons. One, because for some reason you seemed real familiar, and I just wanted to know if maybe we'd crossed paths before. Someplace or other.
It's the funniest thing you say that. I feel like I've got the worst sense of deja vu. Like, you've been somebody whose face I've been seeing everywhere, but I don't ever think I've seen a face like yours in real life. But they say a dream, you can't make up faces in your head. You have to have, or maybe you have to have been gone. In any case, you remind me of a dream girl that I had once or twice. And, what's in the courtyard? Did you leave anything out there, miss?
Is the courtyard where I came from? Like, is that the main square where I left Aloysius? My goal, and as Sam says as they rise, they leap from their seat and rush to the door, calling out, "My goat!"
Peach follows, giving a little hey to the bartender as she's leaving. Like, I'm going to chase this crazy girl.
I don't recognize either of them at all. Yes. I mean, I assume, like, even if you haven't seen someone since you were young, you would still recognize the face of the person. The world hasn't changed so much. She's bent over, healing magic flowing from her hands glowing warm and gentle with light, and she feels this tug and looks up and kind of like glances at them and then looks down at what she's doing, and then she does a double take and she's like, wait, she stops in the middle of healing this person and turns, and she's still kneeling, and she looks up and she's like, Sav? Sav, is that you?
A couple questions. Has Sav seen other people do magic openly in where she's traveled so far? B, does a Mozzarella sound like I guess one of the other gathering accents? Since I see you're not attempting Scottish.
I refuse to try to do. I tried to do an accent for a while, but it just keeps veering into something that I don't intend, so I just can't do it. I can only talk in a
do it
welcome
for
to my
us.
life.
I can only talk in a flat voice. I can't convey emotion in it at all. So no.
Ah yes, traitors, gain mid bolt. No. When Sav's name is called out, they blink and take a step back, prepare to run. Their instincts are still pretty much oriented toward the fight, especially over these last month, two, where they've been traveling alone. And then recognition seeps in, even though it's been literally years, maybe decades. Well, maybe not exact decades, but at least maybe over a decade. And says, did Mozzarella go by the Mozzarella that time?
Probably Ray. I feel like Sav would have known her as Ray.
Right? Kinda be. Wait, really? And they're still kind of like in a semi-defensive position, just disbelief.
Mozzarella, without looking at the patient, opens up a pouch on her belt and pulls out a small like healing potion, and just kind of plops it on their chest, and she's like, "You'll be fine." And she stands up and starts like taking Sav, it's me. Last I heard you. No, that can't be. It was. Were you taken by the swans?
Wait. How can it be that you can do magic?
She just smiles and says, I always could.
Sav just kind of sputters for a minute, and then has to sit down on the stoop of the tavern.
Peach shivers by her with the injured soldier or newly healed soldier. Say, let's get you a hot drink. And she's leaving Sav and Mozzarella to talk.
But how'd you end up here?
Well, if you mean here and wherever this place is, I couldn't tell you, but I mean, I've got a wagon. I'm a traveling healer now. Herbalism, potions, magic, if it requires it. just wandering about, helping people where I can, eking out a living. But there's also a whole other life that happened before that, in another place, another time.
How is it if you had witchcraft the whole time, how is it you stayed hid?
Oh, well, I got found by an old family friend who knew my parents and recognized me. And they offered me a choice. I could either go with them and be trained as a healer, or continue out on the streets on my own and risk getting picked up by the swans. And although I wasn't much of a fan of the Church of Kindled Flame then, and certainly not towards the end of things, it seemed like a better chance at life. And they knew about my parents' abilities, and they helped me learn magic and keep it hidden, mostly.
So that's why you disappeared. It's one day you're just gone. I guess I followed not long after, but what? Sorry, I'm pure mist over this. I wasn't expecting to. Sorry, it is really good to see a familiar face even in these really strange times.
Would Sav let Nosriel get close? Like, or is she still backing away?
They would have, I think, only they're kind of like folded down on the steps, but they stand up again. But as they, gain a little, get over their shock.
Nosriel approaches and kind of pulls Sav into an awkward hug and says, "I didn't think I'd ever see a familiar face again from the life before. It's been a lot of traveling, and I know we didn't know each other well, but seeing anyone familiar is a comfort."
Sav is extremely awkward about it, accepting the hug. They kind of just stand there for a minute, and then there's like a little. But then they. Was Ray also in her dreams at all? This might be why Sav didn't recognize him quickly enough. Say, well, I suppose come into the bar. It looks like that bartender took your patients in, and I suppose we can catch up.
Yeah, let me just lock up, and I'll be in soon.
So it is so smart that you and the others turned back then, because we hadn't seen anybody return from the last couple of tracks that come back. It's even worse as it goes. Oh, I've heard monsters, yetis, and things. Yeah, I wouldn't risk it myself, not alone at least.
Zap, I think, is going to go take a seat near the soldiers in Peach, and say, I suppose you were some of the ones sent after the outgoers who were lost. That was actually the other thing I was about to ask. And they nod at Peach. So I was talking to the soldiers.
What do you mean by outliers being okay?
Sabs called them outgoers, and that is the phrase that she used. So I suppose you were some of the scouts sent after the outgoers who got lost in the mountains in the blizzard? Do you see anything weird out there? I might be heading out in the next few days, weather permitting. Wanted to know. Is it normal to have that kind of a blizzard around these parts? Has I've learned at this point how long this world has been in this state? There's been no familiar town names or history points that she could, like, match up with her own knowledge of history. Well, thanks. Thank you for the warning, I suppose. And she looks back at Peach and then looks at the soldiers and doesn't really want to talk about any more stuff until they're gone, so just kind of clams up.
That's plenty. Thank you. It's appreciated.
Has that weird feeling gone away? Like that, or that sound?
Are Masriel and Sav sitting at like the same table?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, like just as Peach is like shivering the rest of the soldiers out, she then comes back, grabs a chair, and spins it up to Sav's table. It says, "All right, so how do you two know each other then?"
Sav looks at Ray and will totally let her speak first.
You ever heard of a place called Gallering?
I mean, maybe, but it's been a while since I've been in school. Like, Gilgain didn't really teach us much geography.
Well, it's a very large city, the capital of Vizendel, and, well, we both spent a lot of our youth there to a point.
How long have you been in these lands?
Oh, years. Many years. Long enough to be established, and I have a good business going. Keeps me fed, keeps me warm.
So is Ray actually significantly older than Sav would have expected?
I think that Masriel was a few years younger than Sav when they met. So if there's some kind of time difference that's shifted, like they're of an age.
Yeah, so Mostrel maybe looks just a teeny bit older than you, but it's hard to tell. She's certainly grown up quite a lot since she was only like 7 or 8 when you saw her.
So you two are childhood friends then? That is just the sweetest thing.
Friends, more
knew each
acquaintances.
other.
Ran in different groups, you might.
Oh, come
say.
on. It's a better story if you're reunited as friends and sisters, being able to see each other at the end of the world together. You can editorialize this. You don't know me from anybody. Tell me a better story.
Play.
No, I know. I suppose I would be incredibly happy to meet anybody from my hometown, regardless of which circles they ran in. I haven't seen anybody from home since I showed up here.
And how long have you been here?
I woke up about a year ago, as far as I can tell. Sometimes I get confused by the sun not going down, especially traveling. Not used to that. It goes down properly in ships.
Have I encountered other people, anybody else who has not grown up in this world besides these two? So, what do you remember about the skies when the sun set properly, as you said?
Well, in ships, there was something funny going on, and I can't rightly remember all of the different details, but for a good chunk of my childhood, adventuring with my friends, it was this beautiful combination of pinks and teals, but with a sun that rose above the horizon and then did set again. So it seemed like there was some kind of movement to the earth. But even here, it's almost left the entire color palette has shifted, if you pardon me using another play acting term or what have you. It feels like it's taken me a while to match back up in any kind of meaningful way. So I think it's been about a year. About a year. Well, what about you two then? Is this the sky you had? I never thought I'd be asking these kind of questions, like just high level about the weather and atmosphere and all. But
Nah.
you know, that's an odd question to ask, and I'm asking it back.
Was similar to what you say. And I think following an impulse or a sense they feel, or maybe just impatience from finally encountering two people at once who that she's seen in her dreams. She says, "I've actually been looking for a lad, blue skin, white hair. I don't suppose you've seen such a lad working here?"
No, there's all sorts of folks that come around here, but nobody with he said blue skin and white hair.
Aye. A bit
I'm
frazzled. Blue eyes.
I mean, there's that. This is just another one of those coincidence. Must be. Because back in my hometown, I had a friend named Esmond, and he looked picture perfect, exactly what we're describing. Glasses some of the time, but not all the time, and fiddling around with things he
Sam
shouldn't
reaches out
be.
to grab Peter's hand, because they've learned at this point that Pete will, in fact, just keep going on, and says, "Where is he now?"
Oh, I haven't seen him since since prior to waking up here. Last I saw him, we were fighting alongside some chitinous enemy that had invaded our home area, and then next thing we knew, it was a hop, skip, and an explosion, and I woke up 50 miles south of here. Whatever Myrna's Wood is at. Myrna's Oak. But yeah, Esmond and I grew up together. I used to joke around that he should get together with a girl from the convent.
From a convent?
Well, it's like a magical convent. She wasn't. It was a.
Maybe you'd best start from the beginning. Tell me everything you went through. And then she looks over at Ray and says, tell us.
Yeah. So I grew up in Sheps, right? But my mom and pop from there. I wish I'd asked her more about anything, and I don't know who all my dad is. But then there was wars happening, and a lot of people were going off to the front, people's parents and things, and so it really meant that those of us who just matriculated into grownish folks took on a lot of the responsibility of the town, and so we includes everybody kind of my own age, right? We had Orthoclase Feldspar, and we had Doc. Oh God, I can't even remember her name. Doc Porter. And they and Esmond, of course. It's we did a lot of things together. We were of an age. We were very good friends. But leading up to this all we were ever trying to do was protect our town.
But I feel like there's a lot missing there between growing up and then coming to a fight against bug creatures.
All right. I mean, so about 17, right? There's a giant jelly creature of some kind that invades the town, and we figure it's somehow been summoned from below the town through some magical means. And at one point there was a train that crashed, and we had somebody from the proper authorities working with us, Bethedrian, and he had weapons like I'd never seen, but he seemed like he had kind of a pro-human agenda, and I didn't really like how he looked at Ava. So then what ended up happening is we ended up wandering far enough away from the convent, right, from the place where my friend Araya is from. And what I was trying to say earlier was, I'm not judgmental about the folks who follow the maid and actually remain maidenly. I feel like that's not what she's all about. Not that I'd ever cast aspersions on Esmond and Araya, but one hopes. In any case, what was that? Oh yeah, get the town getting destroyed by a million different things. So we had kobolds that were underground, and Casey made an agreement with them so that they wouldn't attack us anymore. But then jellies were coming up from the ground, and then we got them out of town. But so much of the town was damaged and destroyed. And then we met Muna, and she, a whole different creature through a different hole in the atmosphere around us. We actually hatched her
Tell
from
me
an
more
egg.
about the what?
Hatched her from an egg. Yeah, we hatched her from an egg.
I dearly want to ask more about that, but let's focus. What's the holes in the air that you talked about?
They're like rips. That's one of the reasons why things were going bad in Sheps, is because things were coming through the rips in this, this time fab or whatever it is. They were coming through these rips, and sometimes making the rips bigger, and sometimes going in and out of one another's torn spaces. So that all. And as far as it seemed to me, and it had always seemed to me until now, Shep seemed to be the place where things were stable. Didn't seem like we were tearing it in any kind of way. But I suppose not in Sheps anymore.
What happens with the rifts? You said the last thing you remembered was bugs. And there was a there was a man named Desmond involved, right?
Oh, yeah, Desmond is like a different version of Esmond, but like an evil older one, right? He used to kidnap baby Esmonds from different timelines and then raise them up to be his lackeys. It was very strange. But Esmond, who I knew, who grew up in town with me, I don't care if he's a clone or nothing. He's still my friend. In any case, so that moment, okay, so it was, there was an avalanche. All right, I guess it starts with avalanche. There was an avalanche, and everybody was getting crushed and making moves and trying to get out, and I grabbed one of my friends and pulled him into a door that I made, and then we were in a different place. It's like I made my own rip somehow, and we were there for what seemed like days or weeks, and we ran into folks we knew. There were people all there, and then when we were trying to escape, the Angel of Doors was coming after us, and thank God, but Silas was there to hold them back and clear the way for us. Right? What do you mean, Silas?
Tell me more about the Silas.
I don't know, he's a weirdo. He only exists in the space in between, but he's kind of a jerk, and he kind of. When I first met him, okay, he tied me up in tentacles that came from my own mouth and then threatened me with a knife. All right, he may have saved my life later, but he started by threatening it, okay? This is a complicated man. I don't pretend to understand him.
Sounds like a good time.
Sounds about right.
But in any case, he held off everything while Sal and I and Poppy, who was Sal's pet dinosaur, were able to go back through the rip into what seemed like our own place. But there were other things coming through other rips, which is what we were fighting against. And then Doc did something weird, right? One of my friends was running, Islan, and she just clicked out of there, just gone. But then I barely had a chance to even take that in because then there's lightning and there's noise, and then suddenly everything is just white. So that's what I've got for you.
And all of that happened to you? You didn't embellish that at all to make it a more interesting story?
No, if I'd wanted to embellish it, I would have said Salinger was my proper boyfriend, but we never really put labels on it. So I suppose it wasn't my friend I pushed through the door, it was my potential romantic interest, if we're talking storytelling.
I see. Well,
Did you ever end up finding a thing reflecting the White Tower?
What do you mean, a thing? I don't understand.
Something of great power that maybe Esmond got real excited about. I didn't ken. I can't tell if you. I suspect you're not involved with workings of any kind.
I don't know what you mean by that all. What do you mean, not involved in the workings of any kind?
It seems like it takes Ab a while to push this out of her mouth, given all the things that she's grown up with. But then she says, "You do not seem the kind to be involved in magical research."
Well, I'm not particularly involved in magical research. Like I said, we're a group of friends. That's not my forte. At that point, I was mostly making food palatable and putting up places for us to spend the night real safe. And, so you didn't have to be, there are plenty of people with big brains. Esme was incredibly smart. Ava's incredibly smart. You don't all have to be doing the science itself to be a part of the team that is making it work.
That's not actually what I was asking about. I was wondering if there was any sort of object or
like an object that would somehow be related to the city you're from?
Not to the city I'm from, but to the White Tower. I'd suppose cards on the table. My name's Sav, and I talked with Desmond once. Or Desmond, or both, I think.
All right, because I had heard that name before. I hadn't heard your voice. I hadn't talked to you directly, but Sav, that rings.
You didn't need to say it so loud. And she looks around at the tavern. I mean, I suppose no one's actually chasing us here, but
hey, and if we're about to try to be stealth, I've been established myself here with my real name, real identity, everything, looking for my real friends by their real names, so subtlety's already gone.
All right. I kind of help though, but that maybe there's something that we met up here. I was looking back in the time before this, before the whiteness, that something to stop the tower. And it seemed as if you and your group of friends was doing the same, no?
Yeah, honestly, yes. At the highest level that we could, we didn't even end up getting 2 towns away from home. But, we had brilliance working with us, Esmond, so we followed him through.
Do you have any kind of what he was working on by any chance?
He had this, all right, cards on the table, right? You know, Esmond, that's all right. I don't pretend he didn't do this. He had this mechanism of some kind that could open rifts to other places, to other planes, and could even do it on purpose, I think. And he had the thought that he could seal them back up, and we all followed that along as well. It seemed like you could rip something, you could sew it, right? So it wasn't, ever his all fault just by himself. But when he was ripping through those different places, even though he's trying to rescue me and Salinger and everybody else on that other side, that something went wrong and something broke, and it was somehow not supposed to happen that way by whatever laws run the greater universe. And so I think what we're living in is the biggest part of the Shattered Remains.
Have you dreamed of the woman with pale hair and blood red eyes as well?
Yeah, but I also know that's Queen Lilith, because Salinger described her to me plenty. She's Queen of Lux, with her lightning knights. I ain't never seen her in person, but I seen a portrait and all.
Sav looks at Ray, a little bit lost. I know of a continent called Luxia? As I say with my upturned voice trailing off the end because I don't remember.
Yeah, I only ever heard about it through, I don't know. Salinger would tell me about it, all right? That's all. He wanted to go to college for a while. He wanted to go and get properly trained up at the university, and I was like listening to his dreams about where he wanted to go once he was done with chefs, once it was peaceful out.
You use so many words I've never heard before in my entire life.
Tell me about this Queen Lilith.
Like I said, I don't know very much about her, but at least what Sal and Esmond tried to explain it. He does do a good job at it. I'm just not a great listener all of the time, so that's no shade against him. So Queen Lilith supposedly can live forever because she's always been the queen. And in this area, the other places are all, led by sublords and what have you. But she is something entirely magical and incredible. She does not age. She does not die. And so part of our whole plan was, I guess, talk to Queen Lilith somehow, see if she had anything to do with the damage that was happening in the north and that White Tower and all. But like I said, we never did get far.
I didn't catch her name.
Oh, it's Proserpina Pine.
Good to meet you, Proserpina, I suppose. Well,
You too. I didn't. So it's Sav, and she nods to
Mossrail, but you can call me Ray.
Mossrail. Okay, thank
Just
you.
call me Ray. It's easy.
Ray's fine. Fine. So
I did get a message from Esmond some time back. Looked incredibly unwell, and only stuttered out a few phrases, most of which I think had no bearing, but the only thing that came of it that I could actually find anything more out about was the name Ivarkar's Pass. So I came here. And you have no seen not of him nor of aught else?
have I, DM? Have I seen anybody who looks like other people from the party? Yeah. I mean, no, but I had the same kind of drive. I was plenty happy establishing another small life in another small town, but I just felt like I had to keep coming here. And I had to keep going until I couldn't go anymore. And so with the blizzards and all, that's why I'm staying here for the time being. And also because whatever this all is, and she looks at Ray and Sav and kind of does like a finger gesture between her and them. Whatever this all is, this is strange, right? This is in a world where, I don't know, it seems very odd that Sav, you found a place to go to that happened to be the place that I felt pulled to, and this is neither one of us worlds to start.
I think the thing that makes this world seem strange is having memories of what was before. If I didn't know about that, I think that this would just be the world, and the life I've made here is perfectly fine. But remembering what I remember and knowing what I know, this world is wrong and off. Like
Ray,
an
that is
undercurrent of rot beneath the surface, almost, or I don't know, like a fragile shell on top of something that just isn't. It doesn't sit with me, but I make do.
Yeah, you two are the first all people I've ever met who are from somewhere other than the area that, the ground that we are walking upon. So I've seen travelers from all over the place, different countries, different towns, different accents. But you two have to be here for a reason, I suppose, I hope, because if you're here, maybe my friends will show up. Because I, ain't been particularly trying to hide myself, but if I fell through this white space and woke up here, maybe it's not. And you two, and you weren't from. There could be a chance, right?
Well, I'm here because there were people who needed medical attention, but I don't know. Maybe there's something else at work here, since I felt a draw to you as soon as you appeared. But Marshall gets flustered as Peach is like, "Who me? What?" She beckons for another
really?
for another ale. Like,
I'll.
Sav listens to the scream and tries to determine if it's something's actually wrong scream, something is happening, come on, or I'm a fucking goat. Okay. Sergeant sighs, and then continues on with, I didn't suppose that you've heard anything of Ivakar of Horengall? I believe this place was named after him.
Do I know anything about that, DM? Yes.
First roll. First roll. Don't fuck it up. fuck it up, don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up.
Kate's confused or angry muttering without transmitting. Just watch her mouth go.
How do I do not a saving throw? How do I do a check? Just a check. I forget how to play
Are
this
you on
game.
Beyond or?
I'm in Beyond, yes.
You click the number, like the modifier number. So like the +3.
Oh, got it. Yep,
2.
yep. Cool. It's a 23. It's a 19 plus 4.
She didn't fuck it up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Peach shares that information.
And where did they die? Right here where this town is? Or was there some other place where this battle took place?
I mean, it's... So... Yeah, not just particularly the town is named in honor of a battle that was fought here that protected living folks from an invasion of the undead. So maybe the actual majority of the battle happened over there in the bottleneck, and she gestures like out the window, where the mountains get more narrow and the only pass exists. Or whether they fought them here on flat ground, I don't know. But that's the story. Roughly 200 years ago.
100 years.
Yeah, it's
So
not
this
I was
place
there
has
for
been
that. I've just
around
heard the
for-
story.
Well, at Kenya have pointed ears. You could be an elf.
My mom was.
I suppose this seems as good a place as any to try and do some more research and sniffing around.
Yeah, I'm interested myself too. Two people in a day who I've only really seen in my dreams showing up to the town that I've been drawn to. I think it would be a prudent thing for us three to wait and see who else arrives.
I hope it's people from our dreams and not any nightmares.
I'll need to get myself a new icon. For my own context, how long have we been traveling, or how long have we been with one another? What's that old what's that saying? Stuck between a monster and a cave. No, you know what? You, it's something like that. I don't know.
Well, we're definitely stuck, whatever the saying is.
um, hmm. Personally, I would rather take my chances fighting something versus going into a cave, but cave probably has higher chances of survivability. Um, I don't know. We can probably squeeze through, break through. We'll probably have to break through something. You're kind of a big guy. I'm a big guy. We'll break through.
Yeah, well, we pulled here for something. We might as well. Can't go around it. Can't go over it. How's that saying go? Go through it.
Oh, yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, let's do that. And Bax will actually stand and kind of begin leading the way towards the back of the cave, looking for any types of crevices or like any openings that they could begin squeezing through or potentially need to break through.
This is one of the oldest jokes, Chris.
Can't neither of us.
Oh no, I don't think I prepared that spell. Yeah, I'd say that Bax probably doesn't strike up any conversation with you, but I should paint a picture, I suppose. So, upon meeting Bax for the first time, you would have met Silas, and whatever feelings or emotions that you may have about them, that would have been the first thing that came to your mind. But Silas is like the smaller, more handsome version of Bax. Bax has a series of very obvious facial and neck scars, um, as well as his hair is now slightly shorter. It's now cut at around the chin ear length area, so his waves and curls just kind of like flow relatively freely. And he has a stark void for a right eye, where you look into it and it's like looking into the night sky that you used to know. But otherwise,
Sure.
I'm good with it.
I mean, dudes.
Hallucinating that someone was with me because I'm so lonely.
Salin just hallucinating the last guy who rescued him.
Just sitting here with my guilt for losing the people I care about. Well, well, grab that and make sure I see what comes through there before it sees me, and he will get to a different position at such an angle that if that ice were to burst, he'd catch a glimpse of what was coming through before it could catch a glimpse of him. Oh, yeah. Very little hesitation. Salinger stands up, makes a growling noise, and then just shoulder rushes towards Silas. Yeah, I think so.
It
He's
says
very indifferent about the fact I was about to shoulder rush.
in the chat, it says that he just lost power.
Of course.
Timing.
He has his power, his electricity has the worst timing.
I thought he was just being super pensive.
I mean, that's a very Silas move. I wouldn't have.
But he's playing backs.
Oh, but I saw Silas, for all I know, right?
Ah.
You know, it's kind of a perfect cut, to be honest with you. Like, you see Silas, you rush at him. End scene.
Commercial break.
Yeah.
You're really, really alone this time, Sean. All alone.
It's more hallucination.
And this person went up the mountains prior to these scouts? Like, is now possibly dead? Does Peach just get this realization? Is this sorry? I'm just thinking how to play this scene because Sav and Mosrella here.
Oh no, let's do the setup because I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, I just need to realize why it would have taken. I suppose people weren't talking about the particular persons in the groups. Mm-hmm. Oh, speak with none of the guards. Huh. And how long ago was that now, though? Because, I mean, honestly, it sounds like you're describing a furbolg or some kind of, forest or tree folk, and they're hardier than you'd think. Nothing really takes them down for long. So I bet if that person was a furbolg, they would probably still be alive somewhere. Yes. Peach would relay she'd go back to where Ray and Sav are sitting, and she'd slam down a pair of glasses that are not clean. She's just bust these, and she's just putting down the whole tray. She goes, "We got to find Salinger Morrill."
Oh, okay, where is he? What direction? Where?
Ooh.
Oh, up in the mountains, beyond the blizzard, because he's definitely still fine somewhere, because I would know, okay? I've never not known if Salinger was around or not, okay? I don't forget that man. And I need to, yeah. So anyway, who he is my boyfriend. But we haven't seen each other in a lifetime, so I just...
Oh, okay.
Any chance that it might be him?
It's okay.
Please.
Chris, can you confirm that Mozzarella may have traveled through this pass at some point in the years she's been here? Okay. Is there so I have navigator's tools and nature and all that stuff. So is it safe to say she could fathom taking her wagon up that way? Or is it on foot kind of journey only? Well, I mean, I'm willing to help you, but we'd have to find a safe place to leave my wagon down here for a while. We'd have to come back and get it. My whole life is in there, but can't take it up into the mountains.
Yeah, of course. And she'll nod to Sav as well. And your cart and your animal and all, we can find a place to stable him up and keep him safe and warm. If you're...
Oh, my goat can come with me. I mean, he's a goat, and maybe we can pack some things on him that might be useful to anyone that we find up there.
That's an excellent point.
I might be able to help us travel a little faster, too, with some magic.
That's cool. What can you do?
She smiles and says, well, since I've had the free rein to really learn about my magic, since this place doesn't restrict us where we lived in our youth, I can do lots of things. You'll see. Let's gather some supplies. Can you help us get some? I have some rations, but not enough for a long trip.
Peach also wants to make steady eyes at Sav for a second. I don't mean to presume do you want to come? You do? You will help me?
I let the two of you, who are so far the only sign of the time before, out of my sights. I would never forgive myself. So I suppose, yeah, I am. Just let me unhitch Aloysius and put away the cart. She's going to go head out and do that.
And Ray, thank you so much. So I was right. If this is the person who I think it is, then he's from my town through my version of reality, and if we're all coming together, then Ooh, it makes sense, right? Right?
Sure.
All right, then Peach would give a firm nod and then bustle off to the back room to try and scrounge up rations.
Yeah, oh my god, I almost used the wrong name. Mossrael packs up some essentials and she stands outside. They move. She stands outside near her wagon, waiting for the two of them to join her. I think something that both Sav and Peach would notice is Mossrael's. So Mossrael's wagon is think like one of those wooden round wagons, like the Romanis in like movies and stuff always have. Like it is a home that's enclosed in wood, and it's usually pulled by some kind of large animal, but you don't see one around at all. And Mossrael says, "Well, we should move this and get going." Well, and she kind of hands Peach her backpack, and I have to think about. I've never done this, but I have to think about what it looks like. Mossrael looks like sort of shy. She's like, I don't usually do this around anyone. I don't know. People still feel weird about it. And she walks around the back of the wagon, and you hear her footsteps are softened by the snow, but suddenly you hear a clip clop and a instead of a young half elf woman with blonde hair, there is a large, beautiful horse with like a mane this exact same color as her hair and like a white beautiful coat. And she kind of nods her head, and you see her clearly with practice like sort of pick up, like she has like a rig on the front of her wagon where she can like walk into it and pull the wagon, and she moves it back to the designated place and unhooks herself and comes back over to you.
Is she still a horse at this point?
Yep.
She is her own wagon drawer.
That is a nice skill. I've rarely seen someone fully transform from one thing into another like that. That is very impressive, right?
And I have not read all the rules yet for Wild Shape, and I'm
Perhaps
like, I
you
don't
on the
know if I
nose.
can talk. I don't know what if I can do. I know there's spells I
Weirdly,
can cast.
You can talk at this with this version. Mr. Ed.
You hear Mossrael's voice come out of the horse mouth, and she's like, yeah, it's kind of embarrassing to converse in this form, but it works. Let's if you want to hop on, that's fine with me. We can make more common ground that way.
Would that not make you uncomfortable? Have another sentient person riding you?
I am about efficiency. Whatever gets us there faster. There's a life at stake, no?
I suppose. She cuts eyes at Sav. And you're gonna ride your goat? No? What?
No, he kind of is not strong enough to carry me like that. I have to admit, I've seen a lot of strange things, and the idea of riding another person is kind of weirding me out.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've seen like jellies, chickens, billion things.
Maybe
Suit
just
yourself.
I mean, I suppose if it'll get us there faster, but once we get to the edge of town, perhaps, once we get to the harder parts to climb, I can probably take care of that. So, all right, up and away. And she's led Aloysius over on a rope lead, with like a few panniers lightly packed on either side of him, but she ties the rope around his neck in a loose knot that could be easily pulled out if you catch it on anything, and just says, "Follow the horse, I guess," and then looks at Ray and says, "I have no idea how to ride. Be that a saddle or something?"
I never needed one. I am my own horse.
That's all well and good, but I got a couple bags I'm bringing with, and I don't want to tie them to you if you're... It's weird. It's very weird.
I suppose. Well, here, and Sav is gonna put her hands forward and sort of cupping them to form a stirrup for Peach to get up.
Yeah, Peach will up and jump onto the back of Mosriel the horse.
As Peach's foot touches their hands, Peach suddenly gets the sensation that half of, they suddenly feel so much lighter than they normally do, and as they leap, it takes way less effort than they expect to get up to the same height as Ray's back. And a second later, Sav crouches and does another leap that lands her more lightly than might be expected on Ray's back as well, and is going to. I feel really weird using reins on a sentient being, so I'm just going to hold on to your hair. Let me know if it hurts.
That's fine.
Are we going to hurt you if we hang on, or... Yeah.
No. It's fine. I wouldn't offer if I was uncomfortable with it.
Well, I'm uncomfortable, but let's keep going.
It'll be faster than walking, and I'm deeply appreciative. Thank you very much, Ray.
Have you ever heard a horse sigh before? Because today you have.
They can do the most dramatic sighs.
And Mostrail sets off, towing Aloysius along.
Yep, with a little goat following and two girls on her back, just heading off into the woods.
It's perfect. Probably Mostrail, since she's well-traveled and she's used to navigating weird terrain. No, I will. So that lasts about 5 hours, based upon the rules. So she would do that periodically as needed, but not too often because it's limited use. But yeah, she's in her regular form, bundled up, pack on her back, leading the other two, and Aloysius. So the three of them.
Hey, Mosriel, can you turn into anything big and dangerous?
Allie hasn't figured out what 4 forms I can use yet other than horse, so theoretically, yes.
Canonically, that's what Peach asks. She's like, could you become an intimidating beast for us?
Possibly, but I think maybe right now I'd be more useful in this form.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking if it got down to
fighting for our lives against a thing multiple sizes bigger than us. It'd be good to have somebody else on our side that was multiple sizes bigger than us.
Sure.
Did I ever tell you about my friend Kabeth?
You have, in fact, many times on our walk. Chris, I am looking around to see if there's any indication of direction, blood trail or path in the snow, anything to indicate.
While she's doing this, Sav has reached into underneath her cloak and has pulled out a. She does two things. One, she messes with a little piece of wood or like a model, and then two, she pulls out a little, like finely etched golden filigree bird, and puts the small wooden model into the claws of the bird's hands, and then tosses it up into the air, and it flies away with a little.
She kind of gestures to the other two and says, "Looks like it's around that way. If you have weapons, have them ready, just in case. I don't know what we'll find out here."
One more moment, and she touches the two of them and then herself, and gives them all gift of alacrity.
Peach pulls out her gun. Oh, so Peach has two. She has actually stopped carrying her loot with her as often because she carries the Vertex rifle across her back. And without her bag of holding many things, she is stuck carrying only what she can carry. And she has prioritized these weapons. So when she takes a gun out in this instance, she's not going to whip it off her back. She reaches down at a calf holster right above her boot, hidden by her skirts, and she'll take out the clockwork pistol. And she'll just have that at the ready in case.
You see Mozzarella gesture and she casts a spell on herself. It's like a little swirl of light goes around her for a moment and then disappears.
Could you remind what does Gift of Alacrity do?
Gives you a +1d8 to your initiative rolls for the next 8 hours.
Fantastic.
Like, your senses feel as Sav touches you on the shoulder, your senses feel like they sharpen, and suddenly your reaction time is a lot more than you might expect. Never mind, because it takes 1 minute to cast, and I didn't realize that. Yep.
I think Mozzarell's gently moving forward, says, "Well, hopefully your not boyfriend is not the one who left this trail. He wouldn't be the one roaring, right? Like, that couldn't... Just... It's worth asking."
I mean, he can get, like, pretty livid when he's, like, battling life and death, but it doesn't sound like him, though.
looks like we're close.
Yeah, if that's the direction we're already heading, absolutely. Yeah. Peach would follow the path, the seeming path.
Are the bodies here, like, are they cold? Or is there any chance for them?
I would also be checking.
I had only assumed she was so broken it wasn't worth checking. Peach is not a horrible person.
My rolls. We're starting off this campaign strong with my rolls here.
Whatever killed them seems to be close. And they're gonna press on. She is actually going to, instead of having done the whole gift or lottery thing, she's going to cast jump on all three of them. As she lets them pass, and then touch their shoulders, and they get a little springier.
It is all Peach can do not to scream Salinger into the forest and summon whatever beast is killing everyone. But she is resisting it. But she's motioning to the others, like, let's go toward the voices. Let's see what other beings are here.
Yeah, that was fallen.
I reach down and see if I can tell how dead they are. Oh, okay.
Bad right. No necromancy on her fated companions.
Could we get a description of that person again? Light hair, light eyes, but not blue skin, not Esmond. Okay. Okay.
Is there anyone that we recognize beyond the dreams?
Did they seem threatening? Like, is there weapons drawn or anything like that? I'll shut down. Do you need a healer?
No. He calls back. He's beyond healing.
I see. And the rest of you?
Calm down, Caspian. Come on. The man with the brown eyes from a distance just sort of waves you towards the little alcove of shelter that they're kind of in. It's a little ways from the wind, a little bit of out of the way of the worst of the storm.
Recently, or an old amputation?
Recently done, like, during the process of him... Oh, never mind. Yes, okay. I get it.
And the creature, what did that? And Sav nods, jerks their chin at the pale-haired dead young man and sort of vaguely gestures back toward the clearing where they found the crushed woman and other people.
As Sav speaks, Squire kind of tilts his head just the slightest bit. Doesn't seem to change his expression, but it's like as if the accent or something is picked up on just the uniqueness of it.
I think Sav does not react to this because they're probably very used to getting.
We're out here looking for someone else. Have any of you seen a Prologue? Blue, large.
Burgundy hair, probably really well dressed. See, he's got part of like mechanical sling for an arm, maybe, but and his hands are like the size of dinner plates, but more gentle than you'd think. And he's probably got a.
I think they get the. I mean, it's hard to miss a giant blue man.
Yeah, Squire kind of clears his throat as she's talking and looks down at the deceased boy in front of him and then looks back up over at them, and we haven't seen anybody.
Shame. Should be around here somewhere.
Caspian, calm down.
He's right,
It's not going to do anyone any good. Sorry. You guys caught us a bit of a rough time. We just lost 2. Been together for a while.
When we followed your tracks, there was no on your trail, so the way back, at least as of this moment, is clear. But I think I may perhaps agree that the creature, whatever it was, looks like it was dangerous. Might be safer to clear it out, lest it attack you while you're trying to make your way back to town.
Squire asks, Merrick, does it sound like it's getting closer? I don't want to just leave him like this.
Sav, I think, is going to try and orient on with the source of the sound. Sounds like someone's picked the fight for us. What are you waiting for? Those of you who didn't want to fight, get going now. Maybe we can distract it, but for the rest of you, do.
This might be a better shot. It could just keep tracking us. No matter how far we go, it could just catch our scent and take us off one by one. This might be the best chance. Can you guys fight?
I'll keep my distance, and she'll do the thing where she chuck hooks the gun.
All right. He looks down at the body over at Caspian, says, "You wanted to fight it? Well, now's we're gonna get the chance." And then he goes over and pats the halfling on the shoulder and says, "Come on."
Oh, right. Those of you that see him, for anyone that might have already known him, you notice that he's definitely a decent amount older, not too old, but older. And he is... Chris, you said he was by himself, right? Yeah. He is wearing his plate armor, trim with... It was purple. As he has his blade drawn, his shield drawn out, you see occasional flashes of magic swipes from the troll, bits of him blocking with his shield. And do I need to roll for any of this, Chris, actually? Okay. You see bits of striking and blocking and teleporting as magic combines with sword and strikes into the troll, pieces of ice flying forward and back. As then Tal takes 2 steps back to ready himself and gets back into his stance.
I missed, and not that this would be terribly important, but Peach and Sav and Morrisell, I don't know if I'm saying your name right.
Ray.
What did you guys... Ray, that's right. What did you guys look like? I can't remember what they saw when you came in.
Oh, we didn't really describe that, did we?
Yeah,
I
no.
actually do one more thing for the scene before it ends completely. As Talis turns around and Sap gets a chance to see his face, it takes her a moment to recognize him, but then she screams, "Talis!"
Peach characteristically never needed to bring a pouch or a backpack with her, so she could wear whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted. And she had an entire wardrobe stored in that bag. So what you see now is a more practical Peach with only the things that she can carry and can maintain herself. So rather than having her hair all over the place, it's in 2 nice, neat plaits that's covered by a hat. She's wearing leather armor, but over that, layers and layers of furs in order to protect from the snow and the cold. But if you peer deep enough underneath the hat and above, you end up seeing just little bright peach pine eyes. She's still exactly who she is, just as bubbly and everything, just dressed more appropriately for the cold and with fewer fashion options.
Mossrael is a young woman who is a half-elf. She has 2 pointy ears. She is very fair-skinned, almost like... It's almost like a bluish tinge to her. There's a coolness undertone to her skin tone, and her hair is silvery white as well. She has green eyes, but not the greenest eyes you've ever seen, just normal green eyes. And she is dressed in blue tones overall, and is bundled up. You don't see any armor on her, but she is carrying a pack. She has a quarterstaff in one hand, but otherwise the only other weapon you see on her is a small dagger. She's She's very practical. There's a healer's kit strapped to her hip as well.
Sav has, blonde hair cut and ragged, cut that looks like it was just hacked off with a knife. It's starting to grow out a little bit on the back in a semi-mullet fashion, which they've gathered back into a little tail, but it's not very long at this point. They're maybe 5'6" or so, 5'7". Look 20s, kind of indeterminately, fairly feminine in terms of the bone structure. And their voice is very light and very, well, you've heard the accent, or at least my attempt at it. They're bundled up in an assortment of clothes that look like she's picked them off of clothing lines and bartered them piecemeal, one by one. But she does still have an orange scarf that's very faded, almost more done at this point with time and sun bleaching. There's a bracer on the wrist that is a bit more visible now since they've shaken out what looks like a carved rod with a rough white crystal or a piece of rock with some gold chasing on it on the end, and they have a shield a battered shield that just looks perfectly serviceable, like maybe they picked it off, someone who didn't need it anymore. And yeah, that's where they are. And there's currently, they're trailed by a white goat with golden slotted eyes and curling black horns. And somewhere up in the air is a mechanical bird that's been flying around at a discreet distance behind, clutching what looks like a small sort of twig or bottle. It's hard to see at this distance. It's called.
Everyone's description was really good. I'm assuming, though, everyone's bundled up. Like, the character wouldn't have an opportunity to, see everybody just yet, right? It's mostly, I'm guessing, eyes. Sav's hair is probably completely in a hood, I'm assuming.
Between scarves and stuff, yeah.
Got it, okay. I think the group they stumbled on likely look like turn of the century, British explorers sort of wearing the kind of heavy garbs. I want to say that resemble what a lot of what comes to mind is Eskimos. I don't know if that's the right word for it. And they all look very well prepared for the weather that they've encountered. All of their equipment looks as though this is something that they had anticipated, and it was a very intentional trip. You did sort of surmise from looking at the equipment. Squire himself, can't really see a whole lot. He has tan skin, you can sort of see from around his eyes, and brown eyes. He is about 5'10" or so, and seems to have, I guess, a slight build, I suppose, just like a little bit thin, I suppose. Lithe might be a good word for it. And from underneath the bottle, you sort of might have the impression that small bits of medium-length hair sort of stick out in different parts, or a part of a beard might be poking out from his face coverings at different places.
Does this mean that you're going to change your name from character pending to what you actually are now?
Yeah, I will do that. I'll find a picture and I'll try to make sure that next week the character's name is there.
Call me pending. Character pending.
That's just his name.
Please call me Squire. Pending with my father.
I do want to. I actually am going to change. I think I said he had purple trim on his plate. I realized he's older and he's kind of left his edgy phase, so it's more it's more of a sage greenish type of color trim on his armor. But yeah, but when he's not wearing his armor, when he's not prepped for battle and everything like that, he typically wears a dark brown, almost black type of leather coat. And he has a lot more scars than he previously did, especially like around the face. He's got some on his chest. He has a very notable one on his forehead going down to his eyebrow. Pants, leather, dark brown pants as well. He still wears his necklace of the symbol that he's had since he was 15 or so, which is also his symbol of protection. He also has a silver circular necklace as well. And then he has the tattoo still on his arm that is, of course, that same symbol of protection. His hair is still a darker brown and a bit longer down to his shoulder length. There's you can start to see the beginnings of a few stray white hairs here and there as well.
It sounded like, since Sav noted him, during the fight or something came off and his face was obviously exposed. And how old does he look now?
So he looks very late 20s, early 30s, that range.
Okay.
Can I just describe parts of it from the dark cave for fun to leave some things?
What does Silas see before you body check him?
Yeah. So
clean shaven.
yeah, that's the. So huddled over a fire with a little bit of glinting light in a cave. What you would see is a hulking figure, standing. He'd probably be just shy of 8 feet tall, broad-shouldered, built like a barrel, sitting there clenching his hands together. And then with the glint of light from the flame flickering, you'd catch just a reflection of metal on his left arm, and hear a slight whirring sound, just a low hum coming from his left side. Haggard hair, in curls, like wet and damp from the snows, hanging across his shoulders. And he's got, just looks like a half-grown beard, unkempt, and bundled in a combination of furs and what looks like scrapped together clothing.
What was I might have missed this. Sorry. What was is he human?
Oh, yeah, so I can add that little glint too. So in the firelight, you'd see pale slate blue skin and dark reddish brown curly hair. For those from Shepherd's End, it looks just like his father's hair at this point. The giant poof of curls that he always had pulled up in a top knot just hanging across his head. And he's a furbolg, so that's the massive size. They're a giant kin race.
He's also blue.
Yeah, slate blue, like a very pale blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, if I hadn't checked his jaw at least once since the last time I saw it, that would be weird.
But didn't Silas save us in the end? He like covered for us. Like, yeah, he did horrible things to begin with, but still got bad blood for him.
I feel like you guys only knew each other for a few hours.
We knew each other for just long enough for him to receive more than one death threat from Sal, which I don't think anybody's ever received.
Oh yeah,
in the
that is
entirety
true.
of that campaign.
Yeah, he was being not nice to Peach.
But Bax is a great himbo, so I'm sure they'll get along great after that.
I love Bax.
Yeah, that's how they become friends. In old Greco-Roman style.
It was the fact that you put them together for those number of days. It was such a shock to Kevin. He's like, "What? No, that couldn't even work," and it just broke him. He just froze.
All right, folks, I'm headed to bed. Good night. See you all next week.
Good night.
See you.
Night.